AITA for calling out my family after they gave away my seat at Thanksgiving dinner? I'm Isabella, 42, the middle daughter everyone in my family has always described as the strong one, which usually meant I was expected to handle pain quietly and send money without making anyone uncomfortable. My mother, Margaret, has always treated my older sister, Vanessa, like she was made of glass, while I was treated like a spare set of hands with a checking account. I used to bring the same sweet potato casserole to Thanksgiving every year, partly because my nieces loved the toasted marshmallows on top, and partly because I kept hoping one normal holiday dinner would make us feel like a family again. That hope lasted longer than it should have. In my family, help was never called help when it came from me. It was called just this once. It was called you know how things are. It was called please don't make a big deal out of it. For years, my mother would text me late at night, usually after Vanessa had cried on the phone or after Grandma Ruth needed something nobody had budgeted for. It started small. A grocery order here. A pharmacy copay there. A furnace service bill after my mother said the house was freezing and Vanessa was too overwhelmed to deal with it. Then it became Thanksgiving groceries, Christmas gifts for the kids, insurance gaps, a leaking sink, a broken porch step, and money to cover Vanessa's late payments when she swore she would pay me back by Friday. Friday never came. My mother always had a reason I needed to keep quiet. Please don't mention this to Ray, she texted once. He already thinks Vanessa can't handle money. Another time, just let Vanessa feel useful this year. Please don't correct anyone. When Grandma Ruth's medication copay went up, my mother called me from the pharmacy parking lot sounding breathless. Can you send it now? She asked. I'll explain later. I sent it. Then at Sunday dinner, Vanessa told everyone she had handled Grandma's medicine situation. My mother patted her hand and said, "She's been such a blessing lately." I sat there with a fork halfway to my mouth and said nothing. That was the role I had accepted without realizing it. Vanessa got to be the blessing. I got to be the transfer notification. Vanessa is 45, and she has always moved through our family like consequences were something other people had to carry. If she missed a payment, Mom said she was stressed. If she snapped at someone, Mom said she was sensitive. If she made a mess, Mom said she needed support. But if I ever asked why I was the one cleaning it up, I was cold. You always make her feel small, Mom would say. I'm not trying to make her feel small, I told her once. I'm asking why I'm paying for it. Mom sighed like I had disappointed her. You're stronger than she is, Isabella. That sentence used to make me feel proud when I was younger. By my 40s, I understood it for what it was, permission for everyone else to take more from me. Vanessa started dating Logan a few months before Thanksgiving. He was 39, polite in the way some men are polite when they're being watched. He opened doors, carried grocery bags, called my mother ma'am, and said things like, "I'm just trying to support Vanessa." The family loved him immediately because he looked helpful. My mother practically glowed when she talked about him. Logan fixed the loose cabinet handle, she told me one day. That's good, I said. He didn't even ask for anything. I almost laughed because that same week I had paid the invoice for the broken porch step after my mother said Uncle Ray might trip on it during Thanksgiving. Logan got applause for a screwdriver. I got secrecy for a bank transfer. First, I didn't think Logan mattered. Vanessa had brought men around before. Some were lazy. Some were charming. Some disappeared when the drama stopped being entertaining. But Logan stayed close to the family discussions in a way that made me uneasy. He asked questions about Grandma Ruth's house. He asked who handled her appointments. He asked whether she had ever considered simplifying things by having someone move in or take over more day-to-day decisions. Grandma Ruth is 84. She is still sharp enough to know when people are talking around her, but she moves slower now and she gets tired easily. Her house has been in the family for decades. It is not a mansion or some movie-style inheritance, but it matters. It is the place where birthdays happened, where cousins slept on the floor during storms, where Thanksgiving tables were stretched into the living room because there were too many people for one room. That house also made people act strange. About a week before Thanksgiving, Mom texted me, "Can you send the grocery money before Thursday?" I told everyone Vanessa handled it so she won't feel embarrassed. I stared at that message for a long time. Then another one came in. And please don't mention Grandma's medication payment. Just let Vanessa feel useful this year. I had been saving screenshots for about 6 months by then. Not because I planned to expose anyone. At least that's what I told myself. I had an album in my phone labeled Family Records. It had Zelle transfers, bank app confirmations, Venmo screenshots, grocery receipts, pharmacy receipts, repair invoices, and texts from my mother asking me to keep things quiet. I started saving them after Vanessa called me jealous during a family call. "You hate that Mom needs me now," she said. I was sitting at my kitchen table looking at a receipt for the turkey, potatoes, cranberry sauce, wine, paper plates, and 2 pumpkin pies my mother had asked me to buy through a grocery delivery app. Vanessa had not paid for any of it. "Vanessa," I said, "I'm not jealous. I'm tired. You always have to make me look pathetic." "I don't have to do anything," I said. "You're doing fine on your own." She hung up. My mother called 5 minutes later and told me I had been cruel. So I started saving things. I redacted account numbers. I put dates on screenshots. I saved receipts for the leaking sink, the furnace service, Grandma Ruth's prescriptions, the porch step, and every holiday grocery order. I kept the texts where Mom said, "Please don't tell anyone I asked you." I kept the one where she wrote, "Ray thinks Vanessa paid for the repairs. Let him believe it for now." The strangest screenshot came from Vanessa herself. 3 nights before Thanksgiving, she texted me just after midnight. "Can you talk?" I should have ignored it, but I answered. Vanessa called crying. At first I thought she had fought with Logan. Then she started rambling about Grandma Ruth and Thanksgiving, and how everyone was putting pressure on her. "What pressure?" I asked. She said Logan wanted her to look more stable before the family talked about Grandma Ruth's future. "What family talk?" I asked. She got quiet. Then she said, "It's not a big deal. Mom just thinks maybe Grandma needs a more consistent support plan." Meaning what? Meaning maybe someone should be more involved. Maybe me and Logan. Mom thinks people listen to couples more. I sat up in bed. "Vanessa, you can barely handle your own bills." "That's exactly what I mean," she snapped. "You always do this." Then she sent me screenshots of Logan's texts, I think by accident at first, or maybe because she wanted me to tell her she wasn't crazy. One of Logan's messages said, "If your family sees me as helping, nobody will question us being involved when decisions get made." Another said, "We need to secure a place before the house talk. If Isabella is there, she'll make herself look like the responsible one." I read that line 3 times. Make herself look like the responsible one. Not be responsible. Look responsible. Vanessa deleted the screenshots from our thread a few minutes later, but I had already saved them. My hands were cold. I remember sitting in bed, phone glowing in the dark, finally understanding that this Thanksgiving was not just going to be awkward. It was going to be staged. I spent the next night making a PDF. I did not make it because I wanted war. I made it because I had finally accepted that silence only protects the people lying. The file was simple. No insults. No dramatic captions. Just dates, amounts, receipts, and screenshots. Thanksgiving grocery order. Pharmacy copays for Grandma Ruth. Furnace service. Porch repair. My mother's texts asking me to keep quiet. Vanessa's messages about being overwhelmed. Logan's texts about securing a place before the house discussion. At the top, I wrote one sentence. "These are the records for the expenses and conversations I was asked to keep private." I saved it. I told myself I probably would not use it. On Thanksgiving morning, I woke up earlier than I needed to. I made the sweet potato casserole the way I always did, with brown sugar, cinnamon, and marshmallows toasted until they bubbled at the edges. I picked up 2 pumpkin pies in grocery store boxes because Mom said Vanessa had forgotten dessert. I put small gifts for the kids in a paper bag. Little sticker books, a puzzle, candy shaped like turkeys. In my coat pocket, I put an envelope with cash to help my mother with hosting costs. She had asked for it 2 days earlier. "Just hand it to me quietly," she had said. "I don't want people making comments." I remember standing at my front door with everything balanced in my arms, thinking, just get through dinner. Smile, eat turkey, leave before dessert if you have to. When I got to my mother's house, the driveway was crowded. Cars were wedged along the curb and blocking each other in. Through the front window, I could see warm dining room light and people moving around with plates and glasses. It looked exactly like every Thanksgiving I had spent trying to belong. I carried the casserole against my chest because the dish was still warm. The pies were stacked in one hand, and the gift bag swung from my wrist. I climbed the porch steps carefully because the repaired steps still looked newer than the others. Before I could knock, the door opened. Uncle Ray stepped out and pulled it mostly closed behind him. Ray is 62, loud, proud, and convinced he can smell disrespect from across a room. He has always loved family loyalty as a concept, especially when he wasn't the one paying for it. He looked at the casserole, then at me. "This dinner is for family, Isabella," he said. "Not people who only show up to judge us." I blinked. "Excuse me." He folded his arms. "Your mother has had enough of your attitude. Vanessa has had enough. We all have." The house went quieter behind him. Not silent, but quiet enough that I knew people were listening. I said, "Ray, move." "No. My food is on that table." His face twitched. "Food doesn't buy respect." That was when I looked past his shoulder through the glass panel beside the door. My foil-covered casserole was already on the buffet. Someone had taken it from the grocery bags I dropped off earlier with the turkey and paper goods. The pies I was holding were apparently extra, not necessary. Then I saw the dining table. My place card was gone. I knew where I usually sat. Third chair from the end, facing the window, next to Aunt Denise because she and I both preferred talking quietly over shouting across the table. That chair was occupied by Logan. He was holding a glass of wine and leaning back like he had been there for years. Vanessa stood behind him, laughing too loudly at something, her hand on his shoulder. My mother was near the napkins, pretending to adjust them. She saw me. I know she did. Her eyes flicked toward mine, then down. Something inside me went very still. Uncle Ray followed my gaze and said, "Vanessa's boyfriend has done more for this family in 3 months than you have in years." I looked back at him. "Did my mother tell you to say that?" "Your mother told me the truth." "No," I said softly. "She told you a story." His mouth tightened. "Go home before you ruin another holiday." I shifted the pies against my hip. "Mom." Margaret stepped closer to the door but did not come outside. She was wearing the sweater I bought her the previous Christmas. Her face had that tight, tired look she used whenever she wanted me to absorb something painful without making her explain it. "Maybe tonight isn't the night, Isabella," she said. I stared at her. She did not say Ray was wrong. She did not tell him to move. She did not ask if I was okay standing outside in the cold with food in my hands. Vanessa looked through the window and then looked away. Logan saw me too. His expression barely changed, but one corner of his mouth moved like he was trying not to smile. That was the moment I understood this was not a misunderstanding. It was not Ray losing his temper. It was not a holiday blow-up that got away from everyone. They had planned to take what I brought and leave me outside. I could have yelled. I could have pushed past Ray. I could have thrown the pies into the shrubs and made the kind of scene they had already accused me of making. Instead, I nodded once. "All right," I said. Ray looked surprised. "That's it. That's it." I turned around and walked back down the driveway. My hands were shaking so badly that one of the pie boxes slid sideways. I caught it against my coat. Behind me, I heard the door open wider and someone whisper, "Is she leaving?" I did not turn around. I got into my car, set the pies on the passenger seat, and put the gift bag on the floor. The envelope of hosting money was still in my pocket. I took it out and laid it beside the pies. For a minute, I just sat there with the heat running, staring at the house. Warm lights. Full table. My casserole on the buffet. My chair occupied by a man who had known my family for a few months and apparently understood them well enough to use them. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Please don't make this worse." I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. Then I opened the family group chat. It was called Family Thanksgiving, because of course it was. The last messages were normal holiday noise. Someone asking about ice. Someone saying the rolls were ready. Aunt Denise sending a turkey emoji. Maya asking who blocked her car in. I opened the draft message I had written the night before. It was too long. Too emotional. I deleted most of it. Then I typed, I wasn't going to do this today. But since I was told I'm not family while my food and my money are sitting on that table, everyone deserves to know who has actually been carrying this family. I have attached the records I was asked to hide. Account numbers are redacted. Dates and messages are not. I attached the PDF. My thumb hovered over send. My mother appeared in the doorway, looking out toward my car. Uncle Ray stood beside her. Vanessa moved behind them, and Logan stayed near the table. I pressed send. For about 10 seconds nothing happened. Then phones started buzzing inside the house. I watched through the windshield as heads lowered around the dining table. Aunt Denise picked up her phone, frowned, and reached for her reading glasses. Eli leaned forward, scrolling. Someone at the far end of the table turned their screen toward another person. Vanessa grabbed for my mother's phone, but Mom pulled it back. The group chat exploded. Maya. What is this? Eli. Isabella, is this real? Aunt Denise. Margaret. Uncle Paul. Why are there pharmacy receipts? Then Denise's voice carried through the open door. Margaret, what is this? I could not hear my mother's answer, but I saw her hands start moving. That was her panic habit. She would smooth her sweater, touch her necklace, adjust her sleeves, anything to avoid looking still while lying. Aunt Denise stood at the table with her glasses low on her nose. She had her phone in one hand. Her voice was louder now. Please send the money before Thursday. I told everyone Vanessa handled it. Margaret, why would you tell us Vanessa paid if Isabella sent the money? Even from the car I saw the room freeze. The turkey had not been carved yet. The carving knife was still beside the platter. Someone had poured gravy into a boat and left it sitting untouched. One of the kids asked why everyone was yelling, and a cousin quickly led the children toward the back room. My phone started ringing. Mom. I declined. It rang again. Vanessa. I declined. Then Maya came out first. She was 31, my cousin, and she hated conflict so much she once cried during a board game because two people argued about rules. She came down the porch steps with her coat thrown over her dinner clothes and her phone clutched in her hand. She walked straight to my car, and I rolled the window down. Is this real? She asked. Her voice was not accusing. It was stunned. Every transfer, every date, every text, I said. Maya looked back at the house. They said you refused to help with Grandma. I paid for her medicine last month. Maya covered her mouth. Behind her, Eli came outside, still scrolling. Eli is practical to the point of being annoying, but in that moment I was grateful for it. He did not ask emotional questions first. He read. He looked at me and said, Did you pay for the furnace service too? Yes. And the porch step? Yes. He turned toward the house. Ray almost gave a speech about Logan fixing things. I know. Aunt Denise came out next, coat half-buttoned, phone in hand, face flushed with anger. Not at me. At the house. Margaret, she shouted over her shoulder. Answer the question. My mother came onto the porch crying. That used to work on me. My mother's tears could make me apologize for things that had happened to me. But from the car, after being blocked from Thanksgiving while my casserole sat on her buffet, the tears looked different. Not fake exactly. My mother was upset. But she was upset that the curtain had fallen, not that she had hurt me. You didn't have to humiliate us like this, she said. I opened my car door and stepped out. The cold air hit my face and I was glad for it. Kept me sharp. You let him humiliate me at the door, I said. With my casserole on your table and my money in your refrigerator. Mom pressed a hand to her chest. I was trying to keep the peace. No, I said. You were trying to keep the lie. Vanessa pushed past her onto the porch. Her face was red, but her eyes were dry. Logan followed behind her, slower, already wearing his reasonable man expression. Vanessa pointed at me. You always have to make me look pathetic. I didn't write your bank notices, I said. I didn't write Mom's texts. Those screenshots don't show the whole story. Then tell the rest of it. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Eli held up his phone. Let's start simple. Did Isabella pay for this dinner? Nobody answered. Uncle Ray came out then. He still looked angry, but the anger had lost its direction. His eyes moved from me to my mother to the dining room behind him. The repaired porch step was under his feet. I wondered if he knew I had paid for the thing he was standing on while telling me I didn't act like family. "Margaret," he said, quieter than before. "Did she pay for this dinner?" Mom wiped her cheek. "It's complicated." "No," I said. "It's itemized." Aunt Denise made a sharp sound that might have been a laugh if she hadn't been so furious. Then Grandma Ruth appeared in the doorway. Everyone went still. She had a cardigan wrapped around her shoulders and one hand on the doorframe. She looked smaller than usual, but her eyes were clear. "What is happening?" she asked. Mom turned quickly. "Mama, go sit down. It's cold." Grandma Ruth ignored her. "Did Isabella pay for my medicine?" No one spoke. Grandma looked at me. I wanted to lie for my mother one more time. I could feel the old instinct rising in me. Protect the room. Protect the holiday. Protect Grandma from stress. But protecting everyone from the truth had brought me to the driveway. "Yes," I said. "Some of it." Grandma Ruth's mouth tightened. She looked at my mother. "Margaret." Mom whispered. "It was complicated." I said, "No, Grandma. It was quiet." "That's different." Vanessa threw her hands up. "This is ridiculous. You ruined Thanksgiving over money." I looked at her then. Really looked at her. My older sister, protected for so long she thought accountability was an attack. "You're jealous," she said. "You're jealous because Mom chose me." "No," I said. "I'm tired because Mom chose you, then sent me the bill." That landed harder than I expected. Even Uncle Ray looked down. Logan stepped forward, palms out. "I think everyone needs to calm down." Aunt Denise turned on him. "You don't get to manage this." Logan's smile tightened. "This is private family business." Maya looked at him and said, "Then why are you sitting in Isabella's chair?" For the first time all evening, Logan looked rattled. Eli was still reading. He scrolled, stopped, and his expression changed. "What does he mean by secure a place before the house talk?" Eli asked. Vanessa's head snapped toward him. Logan said, "That's private." Aunt Denise stepped closer. "Not when you're sitting in the chair of the person paying the bills." Eli read aloud. "If your family sees me as helping, nobody will question us being involved when decisions get made." He looked up. "What decisions?" Logan's jaw flexed. "You're twisting my words." "I'm reading your words," Eli said. Grandma Ruth's grip tightened on the doorframe. "What house talk?" That question did more damage than my PDF ever could have. My mother started crying harder. Nobody was trying to take anything. "I didn't say take," Grandma said. Her voice was thin, but it cut through everyone. "I asked what house talk." Vanessa said, "Grandma, it wasn't like that." Grandma Ruth looked at her. "Were you planning to talk about my house at Thanksgiving dinner while Isabella was outside?" No one answered. There it was. The truth standing in the cold with all of us. They had not just wanted me gone because I was difficult. They needed me gone because the story worked better without me. Vanessa and Logan were going to be presented as the stable future caretakers. My mother was going to nod along. Uncle Ray was going to moralize. A few relatives would probably agree that it made sense for Vanessa and Logan to help more with Grandma Ruth. And if anyone asked why not Isabella, someone would say I never showed up except to judge. Meanwhile, my money would be in the meal, my receipts would be hidden, and my chair would already be gone. Uncle Ray sat down on the porch step like his knees had given out. He looked at me. "Did you pay for the porch repair?" "Yes." He closed his eyes. Inside the house, someone started gathering coats. I heard chair legs scrape. Aunt Denise turned toward the dining room and said, "This dinner is over." Mom looked panicked. "Denise, don't be dramatic." Denise stared at her. "Dramatic is letting your daughter stand outside while you serve the food she paid for." A couple of relatives stayed at the table, frozen and uncomfortable. Some looked angry at me, probably because the truth had ruined their appetite and it was easier to blame the person who revealed it than the people who created it. I expected that. Families do not rewrite themselves in one night. But Maya left. Eli left. Aunt Denise left. Another uncle grabbed his coat and muttered that he was not eating until someone explained the receipts. A cousin I barely spoke to came outside, squeezed my shoulder and said, "I didn't know." "I know," I said. That was the hardest part. Most of them didn't know. They had believed what they were handed because believing it was comfortable. My mother came down the porch steps toward me. "Please," she said. "Don't do this. We can talk after dinner." I almost laughed again. "After dinner?" I asked. "You mean after everyone eats what I paid for?" She flinched. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the hosting envelope. Her eyes went to it automatically. That small movement told me everything I needed to know. I held it up. "You don't get to spend my money at a table where I'm not allowed to sit." "Isabella," she whispered. "If I'm not family at the front door," I said, "I'm not the family bank after dinner." Vanessa scoffed, but it came out weak. "So that's it? You're cutting off your own mother." "No," I said. "I'm cutting off the arrangement where she loves me privately when she needs money and disowns me publicly when she needs a villain." For once, Vanessa had no quick answer. Logan did. "This is exactly why they didn't want you inside. You make everything about control." I looked at him. "You met my family 3 months ago and tried to position yourself around my grandmother's house. I was only trying to help Vanessa be taken seriously. Then start by taking her bills seriously," I said. His face hardened. The polite mask slipped just enough for everyone to see the irritation underneath. Grandma Ruth turned and went back inside with Aunt Denise supporting her. Before she disappeared through the doorway, she looked at my mother and said, "No one discusses my house without me again." That was the end of dinner. Not officially. No one announced it with a bell. But the holiday collapsed in small, ordinary sounds: coats pulled from hangers, plastic containers snapped shut, a child asking if they were still getting pie, someone whispering in the hallway, my mother crying near the porch, Vanessa hissing at Logan to stop talking. Uncle Ray sitting with his mouth open like he had swallowed every speech he planned to give. I never went inside. Maya offered to bring out my casserole dish, but I told her to leave it. I didn't want it anymore. Aunt Denise brought me the gift bag I had dropped off earlier for the kids. "You should keep these," she said gently. "No," I said. "Give them to the kids. They didn't do this." She nodded, and for a moment her face softened in a way that almost made me cry. Then I got into my car. My mother stood beside the porch, arms wrapped around herself. "You're really leaving?" she asked. I looked at the house, at the warm windows, at the table where my place card should have been. "I already did," I said. I drove home with the pies still on the passenger seat and the envelope unopened beside them. That night, my phone acted like a living thing. Calls, texts, missed calls, voicemails, question marks in the group chat, relatives asking for the full PDF because they couldn't open it, others telling me I should have waited until after the holiday, a few saying they were sorry. Mom called 9 times. I let every call go to voicemail. Around 10:30, I made tea I barely drank and listened to one message. My mother's voice was thick from crying. "I'm still your mother," she said. "You didn't have to punish me in front of everyone." I was trying to keep the peace. "Vanessa can't handle being attacked like this. You know that. You're stronger than she is." There it was again. "You're stronger." This time it didn't hook into me. I called her back once. She answered on the first ring. "Isabella. I'm only going to say this once tonight," I said. She sniffed. "Okay. I love you, but I am done paying for a seat you won't give me." Silence. Then she said, "That's a terrible thing to say to your mother." "No," I said. "It's a terrible thing to make true." She started crying again. I did not comfort her. That felt cruel for about 5 seconds, then it felt honest. "The bills," she said softly. "Grandma still needs help." "I will help Grandma through transparent channels," I said. "I will not fund lies." "What does that mean?" "It means no more secret transfers. No more money through you. No more telling people Vanessa handled things I paid for. No more family decisions about Grandma without records and without Grandma included. You're making this so formal. You made honesty impossible informally." She did not answer. I said goodnight and hung up. The next morning I wrote an email. Not a group chat message. Not a rant. An email. I sent it to my mother, Aunt Denise, Uncle Ray, Eli, Maya, and 2 other relatives who had been involved in Grandma Ruth's care. I kept it clear. I wrote that I would no longer pay secret bills. Any help for Grandma Ruth would go directly to the pharmacy, service provider, or a transparent shared account monitored by more than one person. Any discussion about Grandma's care or house would include Grandma, Aunt Denise, and a neutral third party if needed. I would not send money to cover Vanessa's debts. I would not fund family gatherings where I was disrespected or erased. I attached the records again and added, I will help Grandma through transparent channels. I will not fund lies. Then I muted the group chat. The fallout was not clean. It never is. Some relatives thought I had been right but hated my timing. A cousin texted, I understand why you did it, but on Thanksgiving? I wrote back, they chose Thanksgiving to lock me out. He didn't reply. Aunt Denise took over organizing Grandma Ruth's medication list and appointments. Eli created a shared folder for receipts and care expenses. Grandma Ruth insisted on attending the first family meeting about her own house, and from what Denise told me later, she sat at the head of the table and said, I am old, not absent. I wish I had been there to hear it. Vanessa tried to spin the screenshots as out of context, but context did not help her. The transfers were real. The debts were real. The texts were real. Eventually, people stopped asking whether I had exaggerated and started asking Vanessa why she had let Mom give her credit for money she knew she had not spent. Logan stopped being invited to anything involving Grandma Ruth's care. He and Vanessa stayed together for a while, then broke up after one of his messages got repeated too many times at family gatherings. Apparently, being known as the man who tried to secure a place before the house talk made him less charming. Uncle Ray texted me 4 days after Thanksgiving. I was wrong. I let them use me. I'm sorry. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to accept it immediately because I was so tired of conflict. But another part of me, the part that had finally walked back to the car instead of begging to be let in, knew that apologies are not keys. They do not automatically open the door back to trust. I wrote, thank you for saying that. I'm not ready to talk yet. He replied, I understand. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. But he did not push. My mother took longer. She sent messages that swung between apology and accusation. I never meant to hurt you. You embarrassed me in front of my siblings. I don't know how to talk to you anymore. Vanessa is depressed because of what happened. Grandma keeps asking questions. I answered only the practical ones. If it involved Grandma's care, I responded. If it involved guilt, I did not. That was new for me. For years, I had treated every emotional emergency in my family like a bill with my name on it. If Mom cried, I paid. If Vanessa panicked, I paid. If someone misunderstood me, I paid with silence. If peace was needed, I paid with dignity. After Thanksgiving, I stopped paying automatically. The first few months were uncomfortable. I would wake up, see a missed call from Mom, and feel the old pull in my chest. I would wonder if I was being too hard. Then I would remember the porch. Ray's body blocking the door. My mother's eyes dropping to the floor. Logan in my chair. My casserole on the buffet. Memory can be a boundary when guilt tries to rewrite the room. The next Thanksgiving was smaller. Aunt Denise hosted. Not a big performance, not a dramatic replacement holiday, just a quiet dinner with the people who had walked outside or apologized without asking me to make them feel better. Grandma Ruth was there, wrapped in a soft blue cardigan, supervising the gravy like it was a legal proceeding. Maya brought rolls. Eli brought wine. I brought the sweet potato casserole. No place cards. That was Denise's idea. Sit wherever you want, she said when I arrived. It was such a simple sentence that I had to stand in the entryway for a second and breathe. The table was smaller, the noise softer. Phone stayed face down. Nobody asked me for cash in the hallway. Nobody told me to keep a secret to protect Vanessa's feelings. Nobody praised me for being strong while handing me another burden. Halfway through dinner, Grandma Ruth touched my wrist. I didn't know, she said quietly. I know. You should have told me sooner. I looked down at my plate. I thought keeping you out of it was protecting you. Grandma made a small sound. People say that when they want old women quiet. I laughed because she was right, and because it felt good to laugh at a family table without bracing for the next hit. After dinner, Aunt Denise packed leftovers into containers and handed me one without ceremony. For once, she said, you are taking food home instead of just paying for it. That almost got me. My relationship with my mother is still not what it was. Maybe it never will be. We speak but not often. Vanessa and I barely speak at all. I do not hate her. That surprises people when I say it, but it is true. I just refuse to keep financing the version of her that required me to disappear. I still help Grandma Ruth. Directly. Transparently. With receipts everyone can see. The shared folder is boring, which is exactly what family care should be. Boring. Honest. Clear. Sometimes I think about that Thanksgiving and wonder what would have happened if Uncle Ray had simply let me in. Maybe I would have sat there quietly while they praised Logan. Maybe I would have watched them start the house conversation and felt my stomach twist. Maybe I would have waited until later, or never said anything at all. But they did not just take my seat. They showed me the arrangement in its purest form. My money was welcome, my labor was useful, my silence was expected, and my presence was optional. They said I destroyed Thanksgiving. Maybe I did. But all I really did was stop letting them eat from my hands while pretending I didn't belong at the table. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.